Everyone's afraid of making the wrong decision, so they make no decision. So this just came in from one of my clients. Do I hire a business development person or a salesperson first? Or do I try to hire for the same role last year, assuming that someone can, in theory, do both? And if I do that, what did I learn last time that gives me a better chance of success this time? I've had another clients who have emailed me and said, we just spent $250,000 on recruiter fees, and 6 months later, those salespeople didn't work out. And what's happening now is now they're afraid to make another decision, because what if it all happens again? It's not going to get better just by ignoring it. It's not going to get better by just piecemealing it together. Sometimes you have to make those investments, because the reality is, like when we're talking about hiring, 33% of salespeople are fired in their first year, and that 75% of salespeople are missing their quotas. 16% of salespeople on an average team are contributing 83% of the revenue. I can't tell you how many business owners and executives that I've talked to that said they interviewed so well, but then they never sold anything, because hiring for salespeople is different. And I can't tell you how many times a business owner has said to me, well, they're really great at talking with people. People seem to like them. Why can't they sell? Why can't they hunt? Why don't they do the things that I need them to do? And it's because being a good salesperson is about more than being a nice guy or girl or having the capacity to talk to anyone and everything. It's the ability to have resilience, to face rejection, to manage our own emotions, to manage our emotions to the point that we can be more empathetic to other people. And these are things that we can test for, that we can screen for. Remember that it always happens in cycles. It's not going to go on forever. There's going to be a point where it starts to shift. Everyone's scared to make a decision because of all of the uncertainty, right? Whether it's the economy, the political environment. And so they kind of have this like frozen in state place, whether you're a business owner who's trying to scale or a salesperson who's trying to sell. So the fear of making a wrong decision is actually a wrong decision, which is kind of ironic. And so in order for us to grow, we have to be comfortable with making decisions when things are uncertain. And you can use data and you can use structure to help us with that. But if you don't first address why you're afraid of making the wrong decision, you won't move forward. We have this idea in our mind that we make this decision and it's going to work out exactly like this. And so we can't accept the fact that it might work slightly differently than we've envisioned in our minds. And so we see that as a failure without like going into it with not like it has to be this exact way, and being open to that it might look something different, but that we ultimately want to achieve this type of an outcome. Sometimes how you get there isn't exactly how you always plan, but by having the plan, you know where to pivot, you know how to get back on track again. Like let's go back to the Great Depression and all of the innovations that had to happen as a result of that, all of the large companies that came out of that, because someone in the midst of the storm and the uncertainty saw the opportunity that they could make change happen, because change is going to happen whether we want it to or not. It's whether or not you're intentional about the changes that you're going to have happen in your own world. And so like even when I started my business in 2007 at the beginning of the height of the Great Recession, that was a thought that was in my mind. It's not that, oh my God, what am I going to do and how are we going to survive? But if they can do something in the Great Depression, then certainly I can do something in the Great Recession and be able to grow from that. And here I am still 20 years later doing it. You're afraid of making decisions on uncertainty. The first thing that you need to do is address it. The second thing that you need to do is to find structure of your own inside of the uncertainty. Things are never going to be perfect for hiring. And I think the third thing is you have to address your own cognitive biases. There are over 10 different types of cognitive biases that happen in sales hiring. And a lot of them have to do with what we think the role should be. And we want to hire someone just like us, or that we think that this type of person is the right type of person because of their personality. You have to be willing to let go of ignorance, and you have to be willing to do things that you're uncomfortable with and go outside of how you've always done them or how you think they should be done. Like everyone talks about the disruption that AI is going to have in industries, but sometimes I don't think people are taking into account that it's not just industries, it's how we do business. Like the internet disrupted how we do business, but at a much larger scale. And so if they're just thinking about it in workflows and being more efficient and these things, and not how it is fundamentally changing how we interact with each other, but also how we function and do business with each other, how we price our solutions. How are we going to learn and adapt to the changes that are happening? And how do we hire for that? How are we going to use it to hire the right person? Because the human connection is going to be the thing that will differentiate you now more than ever. And so it's not just about hiring someone who has industry skills or knows how to do certain tactics. Those are the things that are going to matter. And so how you hire is going to be as important as who you hire and how you onboard them later on. And this is the opportunity that companies have if they would stop being afraid of the change. You have to embrace the change. Yes, start small, but embrace it or you will be eclipsed by it.